You are throwing away hundreds of dollars every single year and you don't even know it. Not because of bad weather, not because of pests, because of what you're pulling out of your trash can every single morning and tossing in the bin without a second thought. I'm going to show you 5 things sitting in your kitchen right now that can completely replace what you're spending at the garden center every season. We're talking banana peels, eggshells, coffee grounds, kitchen scraps, onion skins. Things you'd never look at twice. But once you understand the chemistry behind them, once you see the actual peer-reviewed numbers, you'll never buy a bag of fertilizer the same way again. And stick around, because the 5th method is the one that stops a lot of farmers cold when they hear it. It's been used by governments in Asia for decades. It works better than products costing $60 a bottle, and almost nobody in America is talking about it. If this kind of real, practical farming knowledge is what you're here for, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment below telling me what you're growing this season, and let's get into it. Here's a number that should bother you. The world spends over $200 billion on fertilizer every single year. $200 billion. And a huge chunk of that money comes from people just like you, buying the same bags from the same shelves every single spring like clockwork. NPK 15-15-15, calcium booster, growth stimulant, fungicide. A modest kitchen garden can run you $200 to $300 a season before you even plant a single seed. Most farmers never add it up, they just pay it. And the fertilizer companies are counting on exactly that. But here's what makes this story darker than just the price tag. In 2021 and 2022, fertilizer prices didn't just rise, they shattered every record in history. Urea and liquid nitrogen hit over $1,000 per metric ton, and hydrous ammonia climbed past $1,600. When Russia invaded Ukraine, a massive chunk of global supply vanished in weeks, and prices jumped nearly 50% in 2 months. Small farms across Europe and Asia couldn't afford to fertilize properly. Lower inputs meant lower yields. Lower yields meant higher food prices at every store in your town. That's not a market blip. That's a built-in vulnerability that runs all the way down to your soil. And here's the part nobody talks about. Even when prices are normal, you never just buy fertilizer once. A standard NPK application stays active in the soil for 2 to 6 weeks, then it's gone. Rain washes it out, the plant uses what it can, and then you're back at the register buying another bag. It's a loop with no exit. That's not an accident. That's how the product was designed to work. But there is an exit, and it starts with something you probably threw away this morning: banana peels. Before you roll your eyes, stay with me, because this isn't folk wisdom. There's hard science behind this, and the numbers are genuinely surprising. Dry banana peel contains around 42 milligrams of potassium per gram of dry mass. That figure comes from peer-reviewed analysis published by Wazir et al. In 2018 and confirmed again by Barrientos et al. In 2022. Potassium sulfate, the standard K fertilizer you'll find under brands like Haifa Multi-K, runs $15 to $25 per kilogram retail. That banana peel in your trash contains the exact same element. It cost you nothing. Now, why does potassium matter so much? Because it's the nutrient that flushes out of your soil the fastest during watering. When levels drop, you see it clearly. Weak flowering, small dense fruit, stems that can't carry their own weight. It drives repeat potassium purchases season after season, and most gardeners never realize that's exactly what they're treating. Here's where the chemistry gets interesting. Most commercial potassium fertilizers use potassium chloride because it's cheap and concentrated. But chloride accumulates in your soil. Apply it season after season, and it starts suppressing microbial activity, degrading the biological layer that makes your soil healthy in the first place. Banana peel delivers potassium in the form of organic salts, potassium malate and potassium citrate, zero chloride load. And the 2022 Barrientos study found something nobody expected. Plants fertilized with banana liquid didn't just match results from chemical potassium fertilizer. They grew taller and produced more leaves. Not roughly the same, statistically better. But here's the critical warning, and this is exactly why half the people who've tried this say it didn't work. Leave banana peels soaking in water for more than 72 hours at room temperature, and lactic acid fermentation kicks in. The pH drops to somewhere between 4.0 and 4.5. Pour that directly on your root zone without diluting it, and you're burning your plants, not feeding them. Nearly every tutorial online skips this completely. That one detail is the difference between a method that works and one that destroys your crop. The correct method is simple: 3 to 5 fresh peels in 1 liter of water. A teaspoon of sugar speeds things up but isn't required. Seal it, leave it 48 hours, 72 maximum in summer. Then dilute. 1 part liquid to 10 parts water for root watering, 1 to 20 for foliar spray. Apply every 2 weeks during flowering and fruiting. That's the window when potassium demand peaks and when deficiency hits hardest. Tomatoes, peppers, strawberries, cucumbers, fruit trees. They all respond within 1 cycle. One more rule: blackened, rotten, or moldy peels don't just lose their nutrients. They introduce pathogens directly into your root zone. Use fresh peel or properly dried peel. If the banana it came from was already garbage, so is the peel. Cost comparison for a season of potassium treatments on 20 tomato plants. Potassium sulfate runs $40 to $60. Banana liquid from your family's normal weekly consumption? 0. That's potassium handled. But the next deficiency quietly destroys entire tomato harvests every summer. And the fix that most farmers are trying? It's not working. And there's a very specific reason why. If you've grown tomatoes, you've seen it. That dark, sunken, rotting patch on the bottom of the fruit. Blossom end rot. Almost always the same cause. Not enough calcium reaching the plant. And almost everyone has heard the fix. Eggshells. Soak them in water, pour it on the soil. A lot of farmers have tried that. A lot of farmers say it didn't work. They're right. But the problem isn't the eggshells. The problem is water. Eggshell does not dissolve in water. You can soak a jar of crushed shells for a full week, strain it, water your plants with it, and deliver almost 0 usable calcium to the roots. The shell just sits there. That's why the method has a bad reputation. Not because the concept is wrong, because water alone cannot unlock what's inside. What does work is vinegar. Drop crushed eggshells into apple cider vinegar and it starts bubbling immediately. That reaction breaks down the calcium and releases it into the liquid in a bioavailable form that plant roots can actually absorb. When the bubbling stops, the reaction is complete. The calcium is in the solution, ready to use. The method is straightforward. Crush 3 to 4 clean, dry eggshells. Pour in 500 milliliters of apple cider vinegar. Let it sit undisturbed for 24 to 48 hours. Once the bubbling has completely stopped, it's ready. Dilute 1 tablespoon into 4 liters of water. Apply at the root zone. Once every 3 to 4 weeks is enough. Calcium moves slowly inside the plant, and more frequent applications don't accelerate that. 2 mistakes that kill this method. Using it undiluted, the liquid straight from the jar is highly acidic and will burn roots. And skipping the vinegar entirely, which is the version that gave the whole method its bad reputation. There's also a bonus combination worth knowing. A 2022 study found that eggshells and coffee grounds fermented together over 3 months produced a calcium delivery that outperformed standard agricultural lime, one of the most widely used soil additives in conventional farming. 2 things from your trash bin outperforming a product sold by the bag at garden centers. Cost breakdown on 4 calcium treatments per season. Standard commercial calcium products run $48 to $72. Eggshells and apple cider vinegar for the same season? Under $2. 2 down. Potassium from banana peel. Calcium from eggshells. Now we hit the third leg of the triangle, and this is where most farmers are making a mistake they don't even realize they're making. Coffee grounds. You've probably heard that they're good for your garden. You might already be using them. And if you're sprinkling them around your plants or mixing them into your soil, here's the hard truth. It's almost certainly not doing what you think it's doing. Coffee grounds do contain nitrogen, about 2.28% in dry mass, which puts them in the same range as some commercial organic fertilizers. But in fresh, unused grounds, that nitrogen is locked inside proteins and compounds that plant roots cannot access. When you dig coffee into your soil, you're feeding the bacteria, not the plant. The microbes break it down over months, and by then your season is over. One extra step changes everything: fermentation. Leave coffee grounds in warm water, open to air, and stir it once or twice a day for 5 to 7 days. Microbial activity breaks down those locked compounds and releases nitrogen into the liquid in a form roots can take up immediately. The result looks dark brown, smells faintly sour and yeasty. That's the smell you want. If it smells rotten, start over. The open container is not optional. Seal the jar and you create an oxygen-free environment that produces the wrong kind of microbial activity, one that generates compounds harmful to the beneficial bacteria living in your soil. Fermentation needs air. That's not a minor detail. It's the condition the entire method depends on. Preparation. 200 to 250 grams of used grounds into 2 liters of warm, non-chlorinated water. Tap water left overnight works fine. Add a tablespoon of sugar or molasses. Stir once or twice a day, leave uncovered or loosely covered with cloth. Ready in 5 to 7 days. Dilution matters here more than most people realize. 1 part liquid to 10 parts water for vegetative growth, faster development, more active leaf production. At 1 to 5 concentration, the plant responds more defensively, building up protective compounds rather than pushing new growth. Both are useful. But at the wrong moment in the season, you'll get the wrong result. Cornell University soil research confirms that nitrogen from coffee-based material releases gradually, meaning it stays available longer and doesn't wash out after the first watering the way synthetic urea does. One preparation carries through multiple weeks of growth. Cost comparison. 4 weeks of nitrogen feeding using commercial urea runs $15 to $22 per season. Coffee grounds from your daily routine? 0. Now we're at the one most farmers have never heard of. And when I tell you how much money is being made off the synthetic version, you're going to understand exactly why this method never went mainstream. Commercial growth stimulants cost $30 to $60 for 500 milliliters of concentrate. BioBiz, Hesse Powerzyme, the names change but the price doesn't. What's inside are plant hormones, compounds that tell the plant to divide cells faster, push roots deeper, drive new shoots. Your plant produces these compounds naturally. The commercial products just extract or synthesize versions and sell them back to you at premium margins. There's a method that's been doing this for over 70 years without a patent and without a price tag. It's called fermented plant juice, FPJ, developed by Korean researcher Cho Han Kyu as part of a system called Korean natural farming. Used across Korea, Japan, and the Philippines for decades, it never spread to the West. Not because it didn't work, because it can't be patented. Nothing to put in a bottle at scale, so the industry kept selling synthetic versions, and this stayed regional. A 2025 peer-reviewed study confirmed what practitioners had known for generations. Plants treated with FPJ grew taller, produced more leaf surface, developed stronger root systems, and yielded more. The mechanism is documented and real. The material is young, actively growing plant tissue. Tomato side shoots from pruning, young nettle tops, fast-growing weeds before they flower, beet or carrot greens from thinning, anything actively growing fast. Old or wilted material won't work. The compounds aren't there. Here's the detail that sounds almost too specific but actually matters. Collect the plant material before sunrise. Growth hormone levels in plant tissue peak in the pre-dawn hours. Collect at noon and you're working with material already past its peak. This isn't tradition, it's biology, and it shows up in the result. Equal weight of plant material and sugar, 300 grams of each. Layer in a glass jar, cover loosely with cloth, leave at 20 to 25 degrees Celsius for 5 to 15 days until fermentation stops. Strain. Refrigerate for up to a month. Use 10 milliliters per liter of water as a foliar spray or root drench. Never apply in direct sun or when soil temperature is below 12 degrees. Two things that break it. Adding water mid-fermentation drops the sugar concentration and the material rots instead of fermenting. And sealing the container, same rule as coffee grounds, it needs air. Cost comparison. A commercial biostimulant at $40 a bottle, 2 to 3 applications per season, $80 to $120. FPJ. From pruning waste and garden weeds, about 50 cents in sugar per batch. The Philippines, Taiwan, and South Korea now have official government agricultural programs promoting FPJ as a direct alternative to synthetic growth stimulants. That's national policy, not fringe gardening advice. 4 methods in, and there's one more. This one doesn't feed the plant, it protects it, and it costs less than everything else combined. Most farmers have a separate budget for fungicides. Powdery mildew shows up, gray mold, root rot, and suddenly you're reaching for something from the Scott's or Bayer garden shelf. $10 to $35 for 100 milliliters, 2 to 4 times a season. It feels unavoidable. Onion skins, the dry papery layers that go straight in the trash. They contain quercetin, a compound with well-documented antifungal properties. A 2022 study found that a basic warm water infusion of onion skins outperformed more complex lab extracts against plant pathogens. It didn't match them, it beat them. And the reason is counterintuitive. Plain warm water pulls the active compounds out more efficiently than laboratory solvents. The simple home method is the more effective technique. The same research found something even more remarkable. Applying onion skin liquid to plants with an active fungal infection over 21 to 25 days triggered new healthy leaf growth in already damaged areas. That's not just protection, that's recovery. Red onion skins carry more quercetin than yellow, but both work. 100 to 150 grams of dry skins steeped in 1 to 1.5 liters of boiling water for 12 to 24 hours. No continuous boiling, 3 to 5 minutes maximum, then steep. Strain and use within 3 to 4 days. Preventive spray. Dilute 1 to 5 every 2 weeks. Active infection, 1 to 2 every 5 to 7 days for 3 weeks. Do not apply undiluted in direct sun. One honest note. This is not a contact fungicide with overnight results. It works over weeks. That's a real difference from synthetic products, and you need to know it before you start so you don't give up too early. Now let's look at the full season picture side by side. A standard season on one small garden. NPK fertilizer, $50 to $80. Calcium product, $20 to $35. Nitrogen top-up, $15 to $22. Growth stimulant, $30 to $60. Fungicide, $40 to $80. Total, $155 to $277 per season. 5 methods from this video. Banana liquid, $0. Eggshell and vinegar, under $2. Coffee grounds, $0. FPJ from pruning waste, 50 cents in sugar. Onion skin infusion, $0. Total, $2 to $3 per season. That's $150 to $275 saved on a single small plot. At 10 plots, that's over $2,500 a year that stops moving up the supply chain and stays on your farm. None of this requires a particular philosophy about farming. It doesn't require you to believe anything. It requires a jar, kitchen scraps, and knowing one critical variable for each method. That one variable is the only real difference between people who try this once and get nothing and people who quietly stop buying fertilizers altogether. The knowledge was always there. It just wasn't profitable for anyone to sell it to you. If you're going to try one of these this season, drop it in the comments right now. And if you want to go deeper on soil biology and what else you can build for free from what you already have, subscribe and turn on notifications because we're just getting started.